Oh, come on. Really? This is not the time. Come on. No, why are you searching HDMI? What gives? I can jiggle all kinds of things, but it's not going to help you. Have you tried turning it off and on again? Oh, really? This is not the time. Okay, let me poke it. Oh, wait. Yes! All right, we're good. Okay. So the pun is CSRF is pronounced sea surf by some people. I think that's the dumbest pronunciation, but whatever. That's the pun I'm going to go with. Thusly, surfing the seas and drowning in tabs. I tried really hard to not lie to you or otherwise put obviously wrong things in here, but you're all smart people and you're theoretically going to be responsible for your own actions. So, you know, do some reading. I'll go into resources at the end. This is why you should listen to me. It's actually not a whole lot of credentials, but it's something. Let's see, blah, blah, blah. I care, I do stuff. Technically, I'm paid to do this. Nobody cares. So, cross-site request forgery. What are we going into? This is basically tricking a browser into doing things on behalf of a user that doesn't know what their browser is doing. And these are whatever. It's the browser doing stuff that the user doesn't realize. It's very similar to this. So if you're not familiar with the cordyceps, this is that zombie mushroom that literally turns ants into zombies. Spore hits the ant on the back of the head. The ant freaks out for a bit. If you see a video of it, it's really creepy because the ant's like, get out of my head, get out of my head. And then it starts zombie walking up to the right height of a stem, clamps really hard and into the stem, dies. And then a mushroom pops out the back of its head. Yeah, this is the stuff of nightmares, and it's really cool. Anyway, cross-site request forgery, back where we started with. So you know how people like leave stuff in tabs? You've got these tab browsers, and you just like leave your mail client open, you leave Twitter open, you leave some other, Amazon, whatever you're going to buy later. You've got all these tabs open, you just leave them open. You leave your session running. So, like I said, webmail, social networks, tabs left open forever. Who even logs out anymore? There's this remember me at the login. And let's be honest, we're all professionals here, much worse with users. Now, I say cross-site, and your first thought to fill in the gap, when I say cross-site, you're thinking cross-site scripting, right? Not the same. Cross-site scripting is way worse, but we'll get to that when we get there, because cross-site scripting is a lot simpler. Cross-site request forgery doesn't require scripting. I've got a demo to prove that. Cross-site scripting is about trust from the user to the site. Request forgery is about the site trusting the user's browser, which does not know any better because it's a thing, it's not a person. So let's bring us up to the same page, because I'm going to throw a few terms around. I want to make sure that we're on the same page. DOM is document object model. That's a JavaScripty thing. I'm going to say DOM every now and again. I don't mean in terms of sub. I'm going to use the term. I'm going to say SSL every now and again. I don't mean 2.0 or 3.0. You know that I mean TLS, but just it's that S in HTTPS and whatever. Token is a string of characters. In the context of my talk, it's going to refer to an unguessable string or a substring, whatever. CAPTCHA, it's that thing where you can't read the text. I hate this acronym so much. You don't get me started. Anyway, let's get started. First off, this is your most trivial case of cross-site request forgery. It's an image element, positioned way off so the user doesn't see it, and it's telling the browser, hey, do a GET request on this thing. Browser is very diligent about, oh, let's send a GET request. I'm expecting an image maybe, but yeah, let's go do this. Well, except for, oh, let's see if I can do this right. Oh, man, PowerPoint, you are awesome. So there's this little bit that says delete, and that's like totally not a thing that an image should say. But this can be a little bit more complicated. Now, let's go punch the demo gods in the face. So, oh, come on, please let my keyboard actually bloody work, because otherwise it's going to be complicated. That one. It's weird to do this with the on-screen keyboard, because like the bendy keyboard doesn't sense that it's actually supposed to be working. So, yeah, kind of, like I said, I am playing this for realsies. So, this is my vulnerable contact manager. It does stuff. I might even still be logged in, which is entirely possible. Or not. Oh, come on. Bam. So I'm logged into this thing. This is my website. This is where I manage my contacts, assuming the internet moves at any reasonable pace. Okay, so I've got like, these are these people that I know, and they're all cool people, probably. I don't know, I've never met them. Doesn't matter. I've got all this stuff. I'm going to go about my business. Leave that open because there's people I want to talk to later. And, come on, pointer. Bam. Okay. While I'm off browsing, I'm going to go to this other website because, I don't know, somebody sent me a cool link or I got phished. Goodness knows who cares. There's this other website that I'm going to, and assuming that Azure keeps its shit together, then it will navigate. All right, yeah, here we go. So, first things first, I'm just going to this website. Oh, hell, malicious image element. I want to know how that works. And it's going to take a little. Oh, this is like totally benign. What gives? Well, that was disappointing. So, oh wait, here I want to check out my contacts. Let's reload this and see what happens. I could 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What are you? Come on, oh, did this one dork up? Oh, okay. Demo gods are having revenge, but whatever. Short version, it literally, my demo is muddled up, but whatever. This is how I play hardball. The short version is one of these things, this guy, which theoretically is going to send a packet that looks a certain way. I'm going to have to screw it. I'm going to switch my slide. Switching back to my slides. So, because let me just say, this is how I roll, and I know it's in here. I'm going to be hopping back and forth because I know some of my demos still work, but since that one is being recalcitrant, we're going to go with this. So you have an app, and it's got your contacts and stuff. Deleting a contact, this is your basic whatever. You've got your auth cookie off in the corner. Yeah, so got your, oh, no, back. Pen tool, damn it. Do what I tell you to do. It's this piece around here. This is your browser saying, yes, I've authenticated to you. I know what I'm doing. I have a session. Website complies because that's what websites do. Again, they're things. They do what we make them do. Editing a contact is kind of similar. Kind of the same business. You send a cookie that says, I know what I'm doing. You send some stuff in your post that says, this is what you're doing. And that results in, oh, hey, a delete takes a thing out. So your browser malicious site, like I showed you, it looks a lot better here because it's not squished over because media queries are dumb. Actually, media queries are really awesome, but this is not the time. And so there's this malicious image element. Why are the tools showing up on the edge of my slides? This is kind of irksome. Stop it. That's not making it go away. Well, okay, the bottom edge of my slides is going to have some issues, whatever. You browse, there's some stuff, and the request comes across looking pretty much like that. The browser does not care. The browser's like, oh, I know that site. I've got a session there. sends your session cookie along, does whatever action it's told to do. Oh wait, something disappeared. Well, that stinks. I'm going to try this again, and goodness knows this is either going to be awesome or terrible. But hey, whatevs. Let's go back. Less trivial example. So, like I said, we've got stuff here. We have contacts. Oh, I'm at this benign-looking site again. What do you know? Are you kidding me? Did not... Oh, I wonder if I didn't republish this one properly. Oh, that stinks. Screw it. Technical difficulties. I am back to slides. Switching to all range mode. Either way. So, another benign-looking site. The core of it is going to have an iframe, a form, and there's some little bit that's a bits of form. Like I said, this can be just wrapped up with a little bit of CSS thrown way off the frame that the user never sees it. The user's probably not going to notice, they're not going to care. But basically, this is submitting a form to your vulnerable site because the user browsed somewhere. It doesn't take much. It does not have to even be properly formatted because browsers are extremely tolerant of things. Like, oh, I cannot draw for crap right now because mice are terrible. But yeah, it says pwn.submit. That is, I gotta be better at naming stuff. One of the major computer science problems. Anyway, so this is what you wind up with. Malicious site sends all sorts of stuff, and your browser just plays along because your browser doesn't know any better. And so it winds up with because that happens. I've got a JavaScript example too, but like I said, recalcitrant demos. Hey, I'm actually glad I made these slides. And so this is roughly what a JavaScript example would look like. You can use jQuery. That makes life a lot easier. I hate using jQuery except when it makes my life easier, which guess what it does. Ajax to a vulnerable endpoint. JavaScript APIs are just as vulnerable as regular posts. It sends off a very legit-looking request. Okay, really, I am sick of these little buttons getting in the way on the bottom of my slides, and I can't fix that right now. It's in presenter mode. Oh, man, you're making this complicated. Worth a try. Ah, yes. Okay, thank you. You fixed it. Oh, I moved the mouse off the frame, and it just takes its time. Anyway, I don't need to draw on this. I'm not going to dick with it now. So anyway, legit-looking request. Goodness, more shenanigans. Somebody has added a contact that was not there before. So let's go do some defense. Because frankly, it is really useless to just talk about pwning things. Everybody knows how to pwn things. Script kiddies have known this for decades. What matters is most toolkits, most platforms will provide you the means of defending yourself. Pretty much any platform worth its salt will give you everything you need to do this stuff properly and securely. I'm using Microsoft MVC because that's what the easiest demos were available to me. There are toolkits available for damn near any platform that is worth using. Short version, you prep your form, you have a little thingy that's literally just spits out a hidden input element with some unguessable token. Cryptographic, pseudo-random, I don't care. Unguessable is the key part. Actually, let me go back a sec because I'm not even explaining why this matters. Because I'm going to have to hop back and forth because I should have practiced this better. Well, whatever. All right, so how did this happen? Request looks like the real thing. Your app doesn't know who really sent the request. And I'm going to show you how to deal with that. First off, with the malicious image element, as I glossed over because bad demos, if you're making state-changing actions, you need to require something more than an HTTP GET. A GET means I'm just reading things. If a GET can actually change state on your server or on your application, change that. GETs should not be state-changing. But that's not enough. You're going to have to go a little bit better because, like I attempted to demonstrate, you can get damn near anything to do a post for you. It's a little bit of JavaScript, and jQuery makes that super easy. One tactic is require the user to re-authenticate every time they're doing something state changing. If you don't have one-click shopping on Amazon, you basically have to punch in your password anytime you want to see your existing orders or you want to complete an order. Because even if there is some cross-site scripting flaw that they've got, you have to re-authenticate to say, no, really, I am me, not just some bot trying to spend my money. There's also CAPTCHAs. Those are annoying as crap, but they work sometimes. Okay, that's a lie. They don't work. If you've ever browsed a porn site, then you wonder where those CAPTCHAs come from. Most likely, that's a bot serving you someone else's CAPTCHA, getting humans to read CAPTCHAs for someone else's bot. But including a hidden token in the post. So there are 3 possible patterns. There's the synchronizer token pattern, there's cookie to header token pattern, and encrypted token pattern. My demo involves cookie to header because that's what MVC builds into it. Like I said, reauth, we'll go in order. You have to prove yourself that you're human. Reauth is nice because even if there's a cross-site scripting problem, the malicious script does not know your password, and theoretically it won't guess a CAPTCHA for you. This is fairly resilient. It's just annoying. And so eventually, if you're using the reauth method, at some point your users are like, ugh, I don't want to deal with this. This is annoying. So you want to keep your users happy. You want your website for buying stuff or handling money or whatever simple. So there's those other things, the token patterns, whatever. Those involve the same origin policy, or same, you know. What the F is the same origin policy? So this means JavaScript can only affect the document that it came from. There are some subtle, iffy bits. Internet Explorer has a slightly different way of enforcing this than Firefox or Chrome, but it's not in a way that's actually going to realistically affect you. Basically, same protocol, same host. In and of itself, it's not going to help you, but it's pretty cool. So, synchronizer token pattern. This is the first one I started with. It's not perfect, but it's reliable. It does the damn job. Basically, you give the user a token before you're about to do something important, and you expect that token back. And you double check that the token you get back when you're doing something state changing matches what you gave them in the first place. Pretty basic. This is roughly what it looks like. You send them a token. So you'll notice this bit saying blah, 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 something GUID. Just so we're clear, normal GUID.getGUID or whatever basic getting a globally unique identifier, those are not cryptographically secure. They're guaranteed to be unique-ish, but if someone has access to if someone watches your server long enough, GUIDs are not reliably, like, cryptographically random. So just be aware you might have to, like, throw some cryptographic business on the end of it just to make sure you've got both uniqueness and randomness, unguessableness. But this is sort of your basic pseudocode of this is how you spit out a token that you can mess with people. And hey, your site is relatively safe and pretty cool. But, like I said, not totally perfect. People, if you're using ASP.NET as opposed to MVC, it's got this view state thing, which is basically this big base64 blob that it wedges at the top of your page. It's cool, but it's not perfect because people don't always remember to turn on view state MAC or view state encryption, or they might turn off view state entirely. Don't rely on it. It's handy if you've got it. ASP.NET MVC doesn't have a session the same way, so you have to be careful about that. And guess what? OWASP provides this thing called CSRF Guard. It's available for most major platforms. They don't claim that it's production ready for .NET. I kind of don't care because .NET provides the things that I need without OWASP's intervention. Anyway, let's move along because, like I said, there's issues with synchronizer token pattern. Let's try the next round. Cookie to header pattern. It is a bit of a variation. It's, again, setting an unguessable token. It's cool stuff. You can You can also, if you're doing Ajax-y stuff, and so you can't necessarily involve hidden fields properly, you can include a header in your Ajax requests. If you're doing an Ajax, jQuery will just let you do this. Like, oh, let's throw in some arbitrary headers. Yeah, no problem. jQuery makes life easy. And server does all the verification. Like I said, same origin policy. So your JavaScript call or your Ajax call is within the same origin of your site. It's going to take this cookie and wedge it into the header. That cookie is only visible to your site. Some third-party script can try to mock up a cool JavaScript or Ajax call, which is great, but it cannot see that cookie that you set before, and so, yeah, that sucks. You can't see it, doesn't validate, whatever. But the cool thing is cookie to header doesn't have a storage overhead. It's just do these two tokens that are virtually unguessable match. You get a thing from the cookie, thing from the header, they match, cool, good. Cookie header pattern, oh right, demo. And like I said, I had issues. So let us move along. I was at JavaScript, I believe. I am moving along way faster than I did at B-Sides, probably because I'm not dicking around with my demos. Anyway, so legit looking request, shenanigans, defense. Now we're talking. So literally MVC just gives you a little thing you wedge into your page that will spit out your hidden token. You don't have to worry about how it's implemented. People much smarter than myself and paid a lot more have made sure that it works. Similarly, on the server side, there's this little thing, it's a little attribute you stick on there. Validate anti-forgery token. It is really that easy to protect yourself from cross-site request forgery. The toolkits just give you like a line of code on each end of the transaction. Good, done. So you try your attack again. Oh, too bad, so sad. Yeah, your fake attack does not work this time. Isn't that cool? Your site's pretty awesome now. But, like I said, this depends on passing cookies around and depending on user storage, and it depends on same origin policy. If you've got cross-site scripting issues, your same origin policy is out the friggin' window. Also, there is this wonderful thing, cookie smashing. So if you're depending on cookies, malicious website can just overflow the cookie jar. They can just throw cookies at your system until your browser does what it's meant to do. Oldest cookie gets pushed out the other end, and so eventually they can take the cookie for your website, gone. And depending on the domains they control, they can put in something that's one level higher, and because of how same origin policy works, you've got mycoolwebsite.example.com. Well, they put in star.example.com or just example.com, pushing cookies there. That's close enough. Browsers are not terribly smart. So, sorry, cookies are not going to do it. Let's go on to something even cooler. So, encrypted token pattern, this is where we're getting to the really cool stuff. Instead of depending on session or cookies specifically, you're actually relying on a secret that only the server knows. The best examples I've heard use the machine key, but it is a pain in the butt to find a way of doing this without using machine key, but whatever, you'll see soon. Short version is with encrypted token pattern. You need, it's a set of claims. You've got the user ID or username. You've got a timestamp, which lets you sunset these little things, and a nonce just to make sure that they don't look the same. You can't replay these as easily. HMAC that, encrypt it, send a little thing off to the user. It's this, as far as the user knows, it's some arbitrary encrypted blob. User sends this back on valid requests. Your machine decrypts it, and it comes out great. Or it doesn't decrypt because somebody mangled it, or you don't have it because they didn't legitimately have it in the first place, or it's passing a set of claims that are obviously bogus. Either way, You don't rely on cookies. You don't have to track session on the server, so you're not bogging your server down tracking this crap. And it's, oddly enough, resilient in the face of cross-site scripting. Isn't that cool? Here's some pseudocode. I would not necessarily trust this. Funny problem, it's actually really hard to find a good, solid implementation already out there. I found a couple, but I'm not going to mention them because I haven't had the time to actually walk through the code and vet that they're actually solid, but they were calling the right appropriate crypto functions. Anyway, this is roughly what your stuff would look like. Username, date time, get nonce. I'm going to leave the implementation up to you because in my code, it throws a not implemented exception. Well, I'm not going to put example code out there for people to use. That is how bad code gets out in the wild in the first place. But yeah, you throw together a set of claims, put it to JSON and UTF, or put it in text and encrypt it and whatever. This machine key .protect is built into the Microsoft platform. I'm sure there's an equivalent on whatever your chosen tool set is. If there's not, pick a different tool set. The other side of the equation, you take the token, you spit it out, decrypt it. If things come out nicely, great, awesome. Otherwise, oh, God damn those little frickin'. Okay, so what you don't see because of those stupid buttons showing up at the bottom of my slides is a little return true after if things don't validate, then return false. It says timestamp 5 because computer clocks are never perfectly reliable. That's just an example of this, this token's only good for 5 minutes. It dies after 5 minutes, whatever. But yeah, basically if all the pieces validate, good, token's happy. God, I love the internet for finding stuff like this. But there's other things. There are other tactics you can go with. You can check the referrer header. Actually, a lot of hardware firewalls do this, mostly because that is computationally very, very easy. And if it's like a little embedded device, like, I don't know, some Linksys router you bought 10 years ago, and they didn't have the power of a Raspberry Pi that you could just wedge into your router, yeah, it is way cheap to check the referrer. And it still bothers me that the IETF spec misspells that. But hey, guess what? That's how standards happen. There's also client things, like there's if you're using Firefox with no script, it has various protections built in to protect your users. But yeah, like I said, users aren't the best at this. And we need to do things in a way that users don't have to worry about this. Because some arbitrary person trying to buy things on your e-commerce website, they're not necessarily going to be using the most recent version of Firefox or have all the appropriate privacy plugins in there. They're just going to browse with what they've got. And you have to understand that your users are going to do with what they have. And if at all possible, don't piss them off, but try to keep your stuff moderately secure. So I ran through that way, way, way faster than I planned. But like I said, this was roughly a 35-minute talk that I crammed into 30 minutes at B-sides, and having my slides totally ready to go. I guess I can give 10 minutes of trying to get my demos to work, but gracious, I don't know. I've gotten this far. So I'm going to point you at some interesting resources because this is where I learned about this. Frankly, OWASP is a wealth of information. If you're not an OWASP member, you don't have to be, but I recommend it highly. Their wiki has goodness knows how much information. Troy Hunt is one of my favorite people because he's just always developing interesting stuff. Guess what? Cross-site request forgery has been on the OWASP top 10 for, since well before 2010. So a guide from 2010, still valid. I'm not kidding you. Wikipedia gives you good info too. I found a couple of other things from various websites. The links are up there. And I'm going to leave it back on this slide when I'm done, but short version. Thanks for showing up for my talk. I wish that my demos worked, but I'm really debating. I think the demo gods are getting revenge on me for threatening them so much. It happens. You can ask me questions or make comments heck, if you've got a soapbox, I've got space up here. But otherwise, I'm going to try and get my demos working because it would be really awesome to show you something actually live. You, sir, what you got? All right, did that come across recorded? Okay, the question was, what do you see as the performance difference for the various techniques? I'm getting that right? Cool. For client and server. For client, it's really not that difficult. It's just an additional thing to pass along. With how websites are these days, there's the single-page applications. Everything is really JavaScript heavy. So one extra form field to pass along is a drop in the bucket. As for the server, it depends on what volume you're taking on. If you're handling, hundreds of users at the same time, I can see how bloating, tracking session for each individual users kind of bloats up. That's when you might go with more with the encrypted token pattern instead of cookie to header, which involves that overhead. But usually, I think that just the same tracking a little bit of session is not going to kill you. If you've got your session, if your server-side session is backed with a capable server, if you're doing like a SQL server-backed session instead of in memory, then you're going to have bigger problems than tracking another cookie. Also, if you've got SQL Server or arbitrary other database server-backed storage, that's one of those cool things when you've got multiple servers that have a shared session, which is great if you have to do blue-green testing or blue-green deployment, or if you need a round robin that one server picks up another server's session. Anyway, it's a problem that you can throw hardware at. And hardware is way cheaper than dev hours, that is for sure. Did I got another question? Follow up? I'll go for it. Mm-hmm. Potentially, yes. Although I would probably just look at the request logs. Damn near any server worth its salt, you can turn on some sort of login that will just align for every request that comes in. You can, and it's not hard to parse those into something that goes into a database that's even more searchable. With regard to cookies, yeah, that's basically edging into tracking cookies. You can do that, but if I were you, or if I were an engineer in charge of it, I would have separate cookies for tracking and for authentication, just because I don't want to muddle those up together. I want things nicely compartmentalized. This is the browsing cookie. This is tracking history. This is the thing that goes back and forth to make sure they're actually legit doing things that they're supposed to do. That's just because I like to keep things simple. I hate to be clever trying to, oh, I can just save a cookie here. That results in debugging issues that later result in, well, this was complicated, so we couldn't even wedge security in because this is too complicated. It's possible, but I would do separate cookie. That's the short version. I should have resaid that question into the mic because, oh well. Too late. So the question is, now I'm going to remember to say the question back into the mic. It's about cost of benefit of those. As an engineer, as a developer, it's a problem you can throw hardware at. The cost of having a separate cookie versus the benefit of saving a lot of dev hours, knowing that this cookie is for authentication and this cookie is for tracking. It's much, much easier just to have them be separate. You can put a lot more effort into making sure the auth cookie is secured and whatever. The tracking cookie is its separate thing. You don't have to put as much effort into that. It's just your little unique whatever going back and forth. That one doesn't have to be encrypted or hashed or plain texted or whatever. Keep them separate and focus on one thing at a time. I can go off on a rant about clever code. This is not the time or the place, but trust me, I will tell you things about clever code. Any other questions, or do you want me to attempt to get my demos working? All right, let's see if I can do this. Oh, please, goodness gracious, I want this to work. Come on, Visual Studio, don't punch me in the face, because that would suck. Okay, I don't have this on that screen because I would rather have this on the screen that's like 1080. So, any other questions are more than welcome, because I've got like another technically 10-20 minutes of my talk. Heck, you can ask me you can ask me personal questions. I won't necessarily answer, but you do have that option. What distro? Oh, conditioner? It's all Pert Plus. I thought you asked me what distro. I'm like, I technically use Debian, but not in a while, because so my laptop had the graphics drivers go out like 3 years ago, and I just have not had the desire to put in the effort to get those fixed and working. Let's see if I can publish. I thought for sure. This is just Surface Pro 1, like it's the old one. This worked great at B-sides. Goodness gracious, I hope this actually publishes correctly. I could have sworn I actually live published, or I published these a couple days ago. That one. So, otherwise, these are my Twitter handles. You can follow me for little to no useful information. Let me see. Okay, that one, 5, 21, 28. Okay, that one is 28. What gives? Oh, my friggin' demos are being stupid. That one worked. Please tell me at least one of these posted something. Anything. This is what I get for punching the demo gods in the... Oh, hey-oh. Finally! Finally! Something! Yeah, I'm going to go sacrifice a few goats to the demo gods after I'm done here. So anyway, yeah, so this one. This is my Ajax-y example. Again, nothing to see here, but view source. Oh, come on. There. Okie dokie. Bunch of crap that we don't care about, and here's the important stuff. Nothing to see here, a bit of script. And so this pulls off a little bit of JavaScript. Oh, by the way, yeah, so my vulnerable site, this is HTTPS, by the way. So SSL is cool and all. It's really important. Encrypting your stuff in transit is important. But cross-site request forgery does not care, because it is using the victim's browser to do things on the victim's behalf, and the browser will comply. Like I said, it's a thing. It does what you make it do, and if that involves, oh, I'm browsing this site, HTTPS. Oh, I've got a cookie for that. Good, done. Yeah. It's that easy. .ajax, post a thing, throw in. Okay, this bit is not terribly accurate, but whatever. It's doing stuff. If you're a determined attacker, if you get your foot in the door, you're going to do stuff. If a determined attacker gets their foot in the door, they are going to do stuff. So like I said, put in some sort of token, validate that the user is actually legitimately trying to do this. God damn, I'm so glad something went right today. So yeah, any other questions, comments? Should I leave this up? Should I elaborate on, I mean, I can show you source code if you want. Yeah, good. Man, I went through this a lot faster than I planned. Question is, what challenges did I have developing this? I'm going to say all of the challenges. My favorite was pulling some demo code to get a site up and trying to run my attack, realizing Of course it's not working, because by default, remember I pointed out something about, I'm just going to be silly and foolish, and let's see. Let's have some fun here, because we're still rolling. Oh, not that one. Other one. Oh, you bastard. Why are these screens so damn small? This one, Content Manager. So, when I was putting my demos together at first, this piece was actually looking more like that. So I tried to run my attack, and the example code actually was already implementing the cookie to header pattern, because apparently MS is actually getting better about these things because their back is against the wall. So I'm trying to run my attack, and it's like, oh, the demo code's actually secure, crap. But yeah, it was a matter of comment that out in my controller. So what I intended to do was publish this, show off the code, take out the validate anti-forgery token bits, and then republish. But my demos are being, like I said, recalcitrant, and so there's only so much I can do. But yeah, literally it's a matter of this little attribute that says validate anti-forgery token, and it kind of, oh, come on. Why do I not have cut as a, there we go. So that's what it's supposed to look like. Other things, this is MVC specific, but I'm sure that whatever framework you go with has something equivalent. Little attribute saying this is specifically a post, not a get, not a put or a delete or any other HTTP verb. This is a post, thusly require post. So like I said, going back to my example involving malicious image elements, images are always an HTTP GET because the browser is expecting a static resource. If a GET is state changing, you have big problems. Educate your developers that GETs should not be state changing. Your devs are probably going to be like, yes, I've been harping on business, but business will not pay for it. But once you show them a list of stuff you found red teaming, they might be more amenable to making the change. Otherwise, there's a lot of Microsoft-specific toolkit-y stuff, but I'm sure you can read enough code to figure out that's what stuff is supposed to be. Just delete confirmed business. Oh, that's just, because that's what it's supposed to look like. Require a post, validate your token. There's also this funny authorized business, but like I said, cross-site request forgery is all about using the existing session of a vulnerable user. You're using their same authenticated session. So like I said, SSL is good. That's preventing a different sort of attack. Requiring authentication and checking that the user is legitimately, legitimately has their permissions to do what they're doing, that's a different sort of problem. But cross-site request forgery is funny in that it's using a vulnerable browser and telling this naive thing that does what it's told to do something on behalf of a user who doesn't know, what they're getting into. Any other questions? Because otherwise I can keep rambling for like another 10 minutes, but we're at about 11:50 and Sir Arcane, another one. There are a lot of answers to that question, and some of the answers are unique to my situation and not as generic. I'm generally not allowed to talk to the sales team because I'm a developer and a very opinionated one at that. Even less am I allowed to talk to actual customers. They keep me in the dev cave, and that's fine. That's where I like it. I don't know if there's a dirty joke on that or not. Anyway, that's a tricky one because our sales team is going to say we are more secure on principle. Adding this to the situation doesn't really help. It's the same kind of thing you've probably heard in various talks already. Saying you're more secure only helps in terms of if they're afraid, then you harp on security. I don't know. Saying we're more secure is like saying that our product has 70% less baby parts in it. It's just blatant. If you have to say that your product is more secure, you're obviously compensating for the fact that your product is not more secure. It's a nice to have, and maybe you're being really honest and, in good faith, you've made every effort to secure your product. But if you have to say we are more secure than the next guy, that's just gonna make them wonder. Granted, I'm not allowed to talk to sales, so whatever I just said, goodness gracious, that's not legit. We can wrap this up unless more people want to banter. I know the next speaker wants to get ready and probably would love to start on time. Mostly because I see him there with his laptop. Hey, what's up? That's all I got. I've been in QA for for the past 15 minutes. My demo went surprisingly fast. Demo. Yes, I can. I don't know how JSON fills into this business, but I'll give a quick rundown for the guy who just walked in. CSurf is tricking a vulnerable browser into doing something that the user did not expect or want to happen. I've got good examples in here. Yes, this is roughly what a malicious packet would look like. Those of you who have already been in the talk, this is not new. You can go back to tweeting on your phone. But this is roughly what it would look like. Legit packet, there's a session cookie, there's some junk that's passed along, posted to do stuff. I forgot the second half of your question, but it was more or less explaining or demoing or something. Oh, Jason. All right. JavaScript version. There's your JSON. jQuery makes everything easy. Throw stuff together in an easy-read format, send that crap off to a vulnerable server or, under the guise of being a legit user, and hey, it works. Actually, this was the one demo that actually worked. That's the funny part. Say what? jQuery. So query as in querying a database, but with a J on the front that I'm assuming stands for JavaScript. It could stand for just kidding for all I know. I really don't care. But yeah, so this example, hey, where's my cursor? There we go. Reload this a couple times because it's going to keep adding context to the end of things until I stop clicking. I am so bummed my other demos didn't come out right because they worked great when I was taking screenshots to set up that extra 25 slides. So what? I don't have a website. I mean, technically I have 2 websites, but I'm taking these down as soon as I stop talking. Because yeah, these are when I say these are live websites, they're actually live right now. If you want to pwn these sites right now, this is your chance. Do it. Because otherwise I'm going to take them down because I've given this talk and I don't care. I can redeploy them anytime. I'm basically done. You can stop. You could have stopped recording probably 15 minutes ago. The whole presentation is me bantering into the camera with a Bloody Mary in my hand. Sorry, with a Bloody Mary on the podium. Now there's a Bloody Mary in my hand. Let's see. Otherwise, how would I put this? That should be enough useful info that... hold on. Let me go back to... There. That's how you cyber protect your cyber resources from cyber attacks from cyberspace. I don't think I said cyber enough. Hey, the internet is made of cats.